Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Okay, so the last update about Unfortunate Love was how Rishi replaced Balwinder at the wedding altar, while Lakshmi had also replaced herself with Kamli at the wedding altar. So that caused a lot of confusion, which means Rishi was at the wedding altar thinking that he's going to get married to Lakshmi, but it was Kamli that was at the wedding altar instead of Lakshmi. So let's continue from there. Rishi realized that Lakshmi is not the bride, so he get up from the wedding altar and he started pretending to get an itchy sensation as he scratches on his body. Malishka, Neelam and others looked on surprised. Rano asks that what happened Balu, and Kamli thinks to be silent, else everyone will get to know that she is not Lakshmi. Lakshmi tells her sisters that she has promised Kamli that she will get her married to Balwinder. Rishi signals to Rano. Rano asks the priest that what does he want to say. The priest says maybe some insect went into his clothes. Rishi gets up to go and Gudu is going behind him, but Rishi signals to them to be there and he goes to the changing room. Ayush thinks that he should stop Balwinder's friend from going to the room. Rishi thinks that where is Lakshmi? Lakshmi comes there. Rishi sees Lakshmi and says, I knew it. When I heard the bright hand, then I understood that it is not you. Lakshmi asks if Rishi have come here to marry her. Rishi says yes, and then he says no, and Lakshmi looks on. Rishi says to Lakshmi that he came to stop her marriage and he did not want her to marry Balwinder. He says he has planned to stop the marriage for a day. Lakshmi asks, what about tomorrow? Rishi says he will think about tomorrow later. And Lakshmi tells him that she was trying to get Kamli and Balwinder's marriage done. Ayush pretends to talk to Rishi and asks him not to come inside because Gudu is hearing them. He says that Virendra, Neelam and Grandma are here because Lakshmi called them to do Akaya Dan. He says Lakshmi is happy and we should be happy for her because what can we do if Lakshmi wants to marry Balwinder? Ayush pretends and says I want to see Lakshmi happy and it doesn't matter if she is your wife or someone else's wife. He asks what? You are coming inside? And says don't come inside. He says Rishi is coming inside. Who will stop him now? Guru tells his friends that Rishi came to stop the marriage and he asks them to break his legs. They go out and Ayush says he managed to fool them. Ayush says this time, Lakshmi has planned and even Balwinder will not know. He sees Malishka and he goes away from there. Lakshmi says to Rishi that now, Kamli's marriage cannot happen with Balwinder because you have spoiled it. Rishi says if you had told me about your plan earlier, then I would have come and helped you. Lakshmi asks Rishi that why should I tell you my plans and says I did not know that you will come here as the groom and you will sit in Balwinder's place. She says you always do what you like. Rishi says why should only you do what you like? Lakshmi says who asked you to sit at the wedding altar? Rishi says it is your mistake. Lakshmi says my mistake and they begins to argue. Lakshmi says to Rishi that leave it and tells him that Kamli should marry Balwinder because Kamli is pregnant with Balwinder's child. Rishi asks Lakshmi not to worry and says we will do it. Lakshmi asks Rishi to take off his clothes. Rishi asks yeah. Lakshmi asks him to take off his clothes and make Balwinder wear it. Rishi takes off his headgear and says it is stinking so much. Lakshmi stops him from taking off his dress and she keeps her hand on her eyes and Rishi goes to a side to change it. Neelam asks if this is a marriage or a TV serial, that it is going on and off. Malishka says that it seems like Lakshmi doesn't want to do this marriage and that is why this is happening. Neelam asks that what about Rishi and Virendra asks that why will Rishi come here? Shalu and Bani sees Malishka staring at the bride suspiciously and they go to Kamli and sit beside her. Kamli asks if her marriage would happen to Balwinder and says why did Balwinder go away? Shalu and Bani tells her that her marriage would happen and they ask her to trust Lakshmi. Malishka comes there and says that she has come to talk to Lakshmi and she asks them to move her veil so that she can see her face. Shalu asks Malishka to talk without removing the veil. Bani says you have to talk with your mouth and not with your eyes, so talk. Malishka asks her to move her veil. Bani asks Shalu to lift the veil and says even we don't want this marriage to happen. Ayush pretends as if someone is fighting outside. Malishka thinks if Rishi came back and she goes out to check. She comes back and says nobody was fighting. Ayush says he saw someone holding another person's collar. He tells Virendra that they will leave once sister-in-law's marriage happen and he smiles as Virendra goes and Malishka angrily looks at him. Rishi tells Lakshmi that he has changed his clothes and now Balwinder's clothes are also changed. Lakshmi says they need Ayush's help. Ayush comes there. Lakshmi asks Ayush to make Balwinder regain consciousness, and then he would ask that where is Rishi, then tell him that father made Rishi leave from here and Lakshmi is waiting for him at the wedding altar. Lakshmi asks Ayush to tell Balwinder that if he cannot marry today, then he cannot marry for the next 6 months because there is no auspicious time. Ayush says okay. Rishi says if any mistake happen, then Lakshmi will taunt me all her life. Ayush asks that when will Lakshmi taunt you, how and where, because you don't want to live together again. Rishi asks Ayush to stop talking nonsense, and Rishi and Lakshmi hide, while Ayush says that he has to make Balwinder get up for Kamli. Ayush eats Balwinder and makes him regain consciousness. Balwinder asks Ayush that where is Rishi. Ayush says my uncle made Rishi leave because he has no right on Lakshmi now. Balwinder asks Ayush that where is Lakshmi. Ayush says Lakshmi is waiting at the wedding altar. He says that his uncle sent him here to bring Balwinder so that they can complete the marriage. Balwinder asks, why are you helping me? Ayush says if you don't want to marry now, then there's no auspicious time for the next 6 months and Rishi can woo Lakshmi back during that time, and Ayush goes out. Rishi and Lakshmi looks at Balwinder while hiding. Balwinder says he will make Rishi run and he will beat him till death after his marriage with Lakshmi. Rishi holds Lakshmi's hand and looks at her. A song plays in the background and they remember the time they spent together. Rano asks Sheila that why is Balwinder taking so much time to come back for the marriage. Sheila asks if Balwinder did not break coconut before the marriage. Rano says forget about the coconut and says she will break Balwinder's head if this marriage did not happen today. Balwinder comes there and thinks that Shalu and Bani are here, so the bride must be Lakshmi. Rano asks Balwinder that where was he? Neelam asks Rano to get the marriage done fast and stop asking questions. The priest says the auspicious time is about to end, else there's no auspicious time for the next 6 months. Balwinder says chant the mantras fast. He looks at the bride, but he did not know that she is Kamli. Inside, Rishi and Lakshmi's head collide and they record their moment together. Rishi holds Lakshmi's face and keeps his head on her head. A song plays in the background. Rishi says black dog will bite them if they don't collide their heads again. He holds Lakshmi's hand and asks her not to go. He says please don't go until the marriage happens and says we should wait here. Lakshmi asks Rishi to leave her hand. Rishi says what will I do here alone if you go, and says I will get bored, and he asks Lakshmi to stay back and they will talk. He says we don't want anyone to look at us, so please sit with me. Just as the marriage finished, then we will go outside, and Lakshmi reluctantly agreed. The priest says that now the bride and the groom's round would happen. Balwinder asks the priest to get it done fast. Rishi asks Lakshmi that should I ask you something, and says it is not personal, but it is like personal, but not that type. Lakshmi asks Rishi to ask if he wants to, and he should leave it if he doesn't want. Rishi asks Lakshmi if it was her plan to get Balwinder and Kamli married from the beginning. Lakshmi says no, and says first, I agreed to marry Balwinder for Neha's future, thinking that Shalu and Bani were burdened by my aunt's favor, and Rishi interrupts and says you also agreed to marry Balwinder so that Malishka and I can get married. This was more reasons, right? And Lakshmi looks on. Balwinder dances while taking the wedding rounds with Kamli, thinking that she is Lakshmi. Ayush, Shalu and Bani are smiling. The priest asks the bride to walk in the front. Balwinder says Lakshmi move forward. He takes the round with her, while Rano throws the flower petals on them. Malishka comes to Neelam and says finally, our life's biggest ordeal is out from our lives, and Neelam smiles and nods her head. Lakshmi asks Rishi that should I ask you something? Rishi says you don't need permission. You can ask me anything. Lakshmi says you did not change. Rishi asks if this is a compliment and says I will not change for you. Lakshmi says you sat in Balwinder's place, and she asks if Rishi would have married her if she was in Kamli's place. Rishi says that he would have married her, but he did not sit there to marry her. Rishi says to Lakshmi that it would have been wrong if I have married you by cheat just like before, and this would be a betrayal to Malishka also. He asks if Lakshmi will forgive him for his mistake. Lakshmi recalls seeing Rishi with Malishka on the bed, and she asks if Rishi is talking about the mistake that he sat on the wedding altar and the ordeal came between Balwinder and Kamli's marriage. The priest says that the wedding rounds are completed and he asks them to sit. He asks Balwinder to apply the sindoor to the bride's forehead. Shalu asks Balwinder to make sure that he doesn't see the bride's face, else inauspicious thing would happen. Balwinder's aunt says yes, this is true. Balwinder fills Kamli's forehead with the sindoor and makes her wear the wedding necklace without seeing her face, and the priest says that the marriage is completed, and he asks them to take their elders' blessings. Shalu and Bani are happy, and Shalu asks Bani that where is their sister because a blast would happen now. Kamli smiles and she gets up. She touches the priest's feet and then Balwinder's feet. Balwinder feels proud and blesses her to be happily married always. Gudu and his friend comes inside. Gudu says the marriage happened and Rishi haven't come yet till now, and they rejoice. Balwinder tells Kamli, thinking that she is Lakshmi, that he has married her, witnessing 33 billion Devis and Devtas. He says you have become Mrs. Balwinder Sood, and he asks everyone to clap. Everyone claps. Balwinder says I will leave the veil and says now no bad omen would happen. Grandma says that Lakshmi was their daughter-in-law. Now they have no relationship with Lakshmi because she has married Balwinder. Grandma says that her heart is crying for Lakshmi, that she has ruined her life by marrying such a man like Balwinder. Virendra says I am unlucky that I couldn't save my daughter's life. Balwinder says Mrs. Lakshmi Balwinder Sood, and he asks everyone to clap, and Malishka smiles, thinking that Lakshmi has finally married Balwinder. Rishi asks Lakshmi why she did not take off her wedding necklace. Lakshmi says when I had worn the wedding necklace, you made me wear it, and that day I had worn it with trust, and it became the part of my identity, and that is why my relationship with this wedding necklace haven't ended even after the marriage broke up. She says I will go. Balwinder might have seen that the bride is someone else, and he will take out his anger on Shalu and Bani. Rishi says to Lakshmi that I will go down, and Ayush and Dad are there. He asks Lakshmi to be here. Lakshmi says no, I have cheated Balwinder, but I am happy that I got his marriage done. She says I will undo everything, and she goes. Balwinder lifted the veil and looks at Kamli. He then covers her face with the veil again, thinking that he is dreaming. He opens his hair and then he lifted her veil again, and he gets shocked. Everyone sees Kamli and they give mixed reactions on not seeing Lakshmi as the bride. Ayush says now everyone should clap. Balwinder asks Kamli that how did you come here? Kamli says you are my husband and I'm your wife. Balwinder slaps her and throws the flower petals plate away. He shouted that where is Lakshmi? He asks the priest that what did you do? He says you should get Lakshmi and my marriage done, but who is this? Balwinder tried to suffocate Kamli and he presses her neck. Shalu and Bani ask Balwinder to leave Kamli. Lakshmi comes there and shouted Balwinder, and she saves Kamli. Balwinder asks that what is going on. First, Shalu sat at the wedding altar, and now this woman. He says we should get married, Lakshmi. Lakshmi says no, and she tells Balwinder that our marriage can never happen because you and Kamli's marriage was destined. Lakshmi says to Balwinder that Kamli is carrying your child in her womb. She says Kamli and your marriage was necessary, and that is why I got it done. Balwinder is angry and he says you got this marriage done by cheat. I don't regard this inauspicious woman as my wife. I regard you as my wife. He says he has done many planning to marry her. Malishka thinks that Balwinder might expose me and she panics. Balwinder tells Lakshmi that he loves her. Lakshmi says, do you know the meaning of love? And says you did all this in the name of love. She says Kamli is pregnant with your child, and now Kamli is your wife and she got justice. Lakshmi says Kamli got her husband and her baby got his father's name. Balwinder says I don't regard Kamli as my wife and says I will marry you, Lakshmi. He says Kamli was just my time pass. Lakshmi slaps Balwinder and says didn't you feel ashamed to insult a woman? She says your mother who gave birth to you was also a woman, and she asks that what do you think about a woman, and says do you consider a woman as a lifeless toy? Lakshmi wants Balwinder not to say anything against Kamli. Balwinder asks should I do her outie? He says didn't you betray me? And he asks if this is not insult, and he asks Lakshmi not to lecture him. He says we will marry now, and he asks the priest to get Lakshmi and his marriage done, but the priest refuses and he runs away from there. Balwinder asks Lakshmi to come with him, and he forcefully takes the wedding rounds with her. Lakshmi asks Balwinder to leave her hand. Kamli holds Balwinder's leg and tells him that she will keep him happy. Balwinder pushes Kamli and says you will keep me happy when you leave from here, and he asks her not to show her face to him again. Balwinder sees the wedding necklace that he made Kamli wear and he tried to snatch it, but Kamli stops him and says this is the sign of my marriage. Balwinder says to hell with you and your marriage. Kamli pushes Balwinder and says we are married now. You are my husband and I am your wife. Balwinder is about to eat Kamli But Lakshmi shouted and asked Balwinder not to harm Kamli. Lakshmi asks Balwinder to move back and says that Kamli is pregnant with your child. Balwinder asks what nonsense, and he asks Rano that what is going on and says you have taken money from me, so get this marriage done. Rano gets worried and says she took money for Lakshmi's marriage arrangement, but now Balwinder is married to Kamli. Balwinder asks Rano to convince Lakshmi to marry him, else he will be forced to take drastic action. Rano tells Lakshmi that you agreed to marry Balwinder, then why did you do this? She says, what should I tell Balwinder now? Shalu asks Rano that why should you give any answer to Balwinder? Ayu says Shalu is right, the marriage is done, so nobody is answerable to Balwinder. Balwinder says it was my marriage. If Lakshmi doesn't marry me, then I will not leave her to marry someone else. And he takes the Gadbadan cloth and he is about to pick up the holy fire stick, and everyone is shocked, thinking that what is Balwinder going to do? Okay, so guys, this is how Lakshmi finally made Kamli get justice by getting her married to Balwinder. So Balwinder will get angry and he will try to attack Lakshmi, but that will be in the next update. I will update you guys about that tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for always watching. That's just what I will say. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.